Okay, no, the show's not over. Of course, they're yeah. Don't you know? Okay, let me see. I told you. Now I wrote this 40 years ago. I didn't do it alone. The music that you hear for the show. And as a matter of fact, let me play that for you since we're recording again here. We're recording again. Let's do this. Now, that was my friend Jimmy Gray singing that. That was my friend Jimmy Gray, and see if I can bring him up there.
The continents ring, yet in all your might and glory you vanished from the sky.
This was written for the movie to be made out of the Solomon series.
Tell of how you fell from the sky, once proud beauty of flame. You vanished from your throne on high, leaving only a memory of your name. Rainbow bird, mighty phoenix, come once more into the eyes of man. From the ancient days of Atlantis, centuries numbered 10 times 10 times 10. Still of you wise men whisper, say that you will come again, and once more man will prosper beneath your rainbow wing. And on your mighty fire-flecked back there shall stand that man. His words will be for the voice you lack, guide for the race of man. Oh, rainbow bird, mighty phoenix, come once more into the eyes of man. From the ancient days of Atlantis, the century is numbered 10 times 10 times 10. 10 times 10 times 10. 10 times 10 times 10.
Jimmy wrote the music to this.
And Amy, thank you. And thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. It was actually going to be an orchestral arrangement of that song, and then later in the show, there were several scenes where the guy would be just sitting and playing acoustic, and the scene would dissolve into him doing a song. And
we had the screenplay, the words, everything's done, everything's written.
Later. Thank you so much for that great tip. I appreciate that, sir, so much. This is another song from the movie. It was a scene where, Francois, thank you so much. It was a scene where a young girl, a runaway, was about to be assaulted by several police officers. Now, I told you this was a very anti-police movie, so it doesn't have anything to do with my personal feelings about the police, believe me. But in this particular sense, they were after this girl, and Solomon stepped in and rescued her. The next morning, in her gratitude, she tried to throw herself at him as a reward for having saved her. She was so grateful. You can understand. And he rejected her, and she was feeling kind of depressed about it. She didn't understand the whole situation. And Lyra, thank you so much for that great tip. And she wanders into a practice room where the guy is playing guitar, And this was going to be the song that he sang to her. It's a thing called Margaret, My Dear. Sit by my side, Margaret, my dear, so the tale I must tell will fall on your ears. Tale of a young man grown old for his time, a tale of the magic in your life and mine. Once I walked only the well-trodden way, and I only found light in the light of the day. Tasted the love of a well-meaning wife, but I left her crying for that wild-sided life. High lily, high lily, high laughing, high low. I'm living, I'm loving, and I'm dying. I know that life's meant for living. Before we must go, dying is only for a moment or so. Learned of the old ways and the ways I'd been, and I saw that the new days had just come again. I saw the might and glory that once was a man. I know I can revive it if anyone ever can. 'Cause I'm a god, I'm a dragon, and I'm only a man. I'm a devil, I'm a demon. Won't you please take my hand? I'm a pusher, I'm a prophet, I'm a poet and more. I'm a wizard and a warrior with the key to your door. I'll tell tales to entice you to take me to bed. Then I'll take you to places inside of your head. Just when you think that you can't live alone, I'll teach you your house is really not your home. I'm dying, I know that life's meant for living. Before we must go, dying's only for a moment or so. Oh, thank you so much. It's called Margaret, My Dear, and I always got a kick out of doing that song.
We did that song and in prison, right? So where we did the song, and we put this whole thing together. We had the whole thing put together, pretty much. Started getting hit, getting robbed, getting shot at, guns pointed at me. Was kind of a turbulent point in my life. But the time I spent in prison, I said then, and I'm saying right now, that time that I spent writing these books, writing these stories, writing these songs, will be the most productive and profitable years of my life. But what we need and what they have done, is they knew about these novels in prison. They read them. I sent them out to publishers. I didn't get accepted. Oh, it's a 60s novel. Oh, that's one of those hippie novels, you know. And the hippie movement was just starting. Yes, Brock, all of these, everything we've just done, that music and everything, and this song, this segment here, which is still going on for another 10 minutes, this will all be up on, YouTube under the Free American channel. Now, what we need, folks, we need a little bit of backing. We need a little bit of help. I had over 4,000 subscribers. 4,000 people sent me $50 a year. That kept me going. That kept us going. We had advertisers, and then it all stopped when the accident happened. When the accident happened, it destroyed all my businesses. It destroyed all my connections, and almost destroyed me. It was no accident. It was no accident, and they have, you know, to prove it, man. I've had people call me up and say, Clint, I want to help you get the Free American again. I don't even know if anybody's calling in. Let's see here. Let's do that. I apologize for anybody that's been sitting up there and hanging on up there and not paying attention. Let me see here. No, we don't have any callers, but I do have a call-in line. That call-in line is 646-915-8774. If you want to call in, you can do that. And I'll try to check on that. And let's see, not too many people in the chat room. Hello, Jerry, in there. Okay. And go back here. Let's look in on this whole thing now. I'm gonna put this up for you guys, so you got this up on the chat room here. I'll put the link for that, because this is a long film. This is almost 3 hours.
The simplicity of the universal knowledge of the 5 elements, earth, fire, water, air, and the cosmic ether, formed the basis of a global sustenance. Humans still recognize that they're a part of God on earth, and that nothing exists separately from God. They were conscious that if they were a part of the creational spirit which had been materializing for millions of years, they had to possess in themselves dormant but almighty powers waiting to be awakened. In mystery schools, step by step, they learned to rise to a God-human consciousness. No one prayed to a separate God. They still remembered that they were fallen and incarnated angels who had to attend the school of life and be reborn until mastering and living through any conceivable experience. Until the time came when they would ascend to higher dimensions of consciousness. The Masters of Wisdom knew the secret of the expanding and contracting of the cyclic cosmos. In the Indian Vedic texts, it was described as the inhaling and exhaling of God. The expansion of the cosmos from the source was called the Omega cycle, since everything diverged from the source. The further the Milky Way and its suns moved away from the source, the weaker their connection to the spiritual source whence everything comes. This means that all life in spiritual decline or descent to lower dimensions slips into the 3rd dimension of the solid material universe. Atlantis and its race were still anchored in the 4th dimension. The Masters of Wisdom knew that at the peak of this civilization, the cosmic cyclic plan had anticipated that the souls would move down into the 3rd dimension in order to totally experience the forgetting of their divine source and to live through the so-called Dark Age. The Brotherhood of Atlantis. At a time when Atlantis reached its peak, ambitious scientists were determined to draw the last secrets from nature. They directed their research into the control of the gravitational net, just as today's government's secret research projects are involved in the control of all material structure. They studied electrogravitation, the compression of matter through sound and light. They built transmitters for the study of time through large crystals, using geomantic power places for energy field merging. Pyramidal structures were used to communicate with higher worlds. They used science to look for the original sound from which everything came. All this was part of the creation plan until this civilization had reached its peak with its exploration of the outer world. Then Atlantis entered a dangerous phase. Until this time, scientists and high priests had been united. Only a divinely guided human being, one who thinks with his heart and feels with his head, was entitled to divulge the secrets of creation. Such a scientist and high priest was guided by God and higher spiritual hierarchies, and was in harmony with its creations. He never threatened lives through any aspirations for power. But a new dark age appeared on the earth. There were students of masters who had not yet completed their initiation, and who experimented and searched for the original sound, Urton, without the permission of the sacred council of the seven wise beings. With this, the destruction of Atlantis was sealed. Separate thinking without divine guidance, without the intuition from the heart, used for the sake of personal will and power, alienated science and the priesthood. A preordained catastrophe occurred. The Council of the Seven Wise Beings, who at that time resided physically on the earth, withdrew.
And folks, that is the future past. It's on my website. I will put it up right below this show, because it's important that you understand. I wrote about the fall of Atlantis. I wrote about this just as they're talking about it now. Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean they're right, doesn't mean everybody's right, doesn't mean, but what I have done is stepped aside here and taken a look at all of the religions from an overview, and it feels to me that I have been looking at this for thousands of years. This feels, I seem to remember wearing kilts, you know, I seem to, you know, I gravitate towards lace-up leather boots, you know, come on, folks, it's just, there's, and here's another thing, in my book, this is contemporary, One Bloody Alabaster Eye, and deadly flashes of silver, second in this series of novels. The Solomon series is a whole different thing. It talks about Atlantis, it talks about the involvement, it talks about the spiritual involvement, it talks about magicians, it talks about being able to read minds, project yourself. And this is, I do not think this is superpowers. I think this is highly developed human beings. And I was told when I was 20 some odd years old, that this was my last incarnation. This was my last involuntary incarnation. And I've often wondered why I've been put through what I've been put through. How did I meet these people? How did I get here? And I've told you, I don't think I would be doing this if this isn't what God wanted to do. And I'm not talking about, you know, the Christian God that wants you to bash your head or sacrifice your son. I'm not talking about that at all. That is part of the deceit that people like me were sent here to clear up.
Also warned the God-chosen people and sent them to different continents in order to safeguard humanity's descendants. Everybody knows the Atlantis legend. I don't have to repeat it here. About Atlantis, you'll find an abundance of literature, about 10,000 volumes. I would say that every few years some clever person comes along and proves that Atlantis was either in the Azores, or near Bimini, or in the Mediterranean, the island of Santorini, and so on. There are plenty of Atlantis theories and Atlantis locations, but nothing until today that can be tangibly proven. Now you ask, if Atlantis as a culture reached round the world, specialists, I mean archaeologists, would say no. So you would find their argument is not convincing. You would say that any technologically advanced culture needs some kind of metal. They would work with and melt this metal. And if Atlantis had a worldwide reaching culture, then we should have found used or empty mines of some kind of minerals.
zusammengebrochene oder bereits ausgewertete Minen.
They have found that. They have found that. And this is part of the things that I talk about in the novels. I started writing them 40 years ago. I'm going to be writing them for this next year. And we still can beat this. We can make this into a paradise. Our founding fathers gave us the framework. They gave us a Bill of Rights. They gave us a Constitution to put change on the government. We've got to stop thinking as the victims, and we got to step forward and say, hey, look, listen to Clay Douglas. He is actually telling you the truth. He's bringing David Koss on. David Koss would run for president if he had the money, if he had the backing, if he had anything. You know, and he'd make a good one, because the common man that has the special knowledge, God gives us that, the Akashic records. You know, it's like being tapped into a giant computer, and the God talks to you through your computer. He's doing it now, isn't he?
He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
I'll keep my freedom, I'll keep my guns, try to keep my money and my religion too.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, you know, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
I'm gonna keep my big BA, keep my friends the same, keep the government out of my business, and y'all can keep the change.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
We know what we need. We know who to blame.
Catch the Free American Hour, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
I'll keep the USA and y'all can keep the change.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
Call recording has been completed.